Hello, everyone. I am Mackenzie Graybill, and this is my presentation on the Recycling Replication Project for 611 at Ball State University. So first, I will go over the literature and the purpose of the project, and then I will go over the methods, results, conclusions, and limitations. So the literature, um, since Earth Day, recycling has become very popular. Um, Recycling creates jobs, it conserves our resources, prevents pollutions, and fills up less waste in our landfills. Um, the recycling rate has increased to 32% as compared to less than 7% in the 1960s. Um, so, it is estimated that 43% of households in the USA recycle. However, not all items may be recyclable that are put in the recycling bin. The Environmental Protection Agency also estimates that the US alone created 36 million tons of plastic waste, of which only 3 million were recycled. In the original study conducted by Fritz et al., the effects of response effort were evaluated by increasing the percentage of correctly recycled items. Um, an AB-AB reversal design was used. Um, in the intervention condition, uh, it was the trash can and recycling bin were placed in another area where signs were posted around designating where they could be found to recycle items. In baseline, it was only the trash can was placed by the door, designating where the recycling bin was located. However, the trash can was not moved in this one. The study also accounted for the total amount of trash bins that were in the area, and to ensure procedural integrity, if an extra trash can was found in that area, it was removed. And the study did find that placing signs designating where recycling bins and trash cans could be found did increase the percentage of correctly recycled items. In an older study by Austin et al. In 1993, they also evaluated the effects of displaying signs stating where recycling bins and trash cans should be placed, as well as displaying like examples of what could be recycled. So there'd be a piece of paper and it would have like a water bottle and a piece of paper that could be recycled, or another piece of paper would have food with like an X across it, or something like that to indicate that like it should not go in the recycling bin. A multiple baseline design was used, and it was evaluated across university departments. Um, For the trash receptacle, a red sign labeled trash was posted above the trash can, and a green sign labeled recyclable items was posted above the recycling bin. No paper products was also placed on another trash can in the departments to kind of signal that this isn't where recyclable items should be going. Before the study was conducted, stickers were posted on recycling bins, but it was found that this was not effective for increasing recycling. Um, The study did find that posting signs increased the amount of correct recycling, but it also stated that future studies should focus on maintenance of recycling items, not only in offices, but as universities as well. Um, Another study by, I believe it's pronounced Chang et al. In 2018, used a quasi-experimental design and evaluated the effects of recycling plastic. It found that using recycling bins in tandem with posting pictures and signage of where they could be found did also increase recycling across the campus. Another study conducted by Miller in 2016 found that placing recycling bins on the college campus floors decreased the number of recyclable items found in trash cans and increased the amount found in the recycling bin. Um, in this study, much like Fritz, an AB-AB reversal design was also used. Excuse me. in the baseline condition, the number of recyclable items were high, and in the return to baseline, it also increased. Once intervention was introduced, though, and recycling bins were placed outside the classroom with additional signage, there was a decrease in the number of recyclable items being found in the trash. The study concluded that placing additional signs reminding people to recycle in some way did increase recycling in the university. It should be noted that this occurred on several different floors in a department. So on one floor, an A, B, design was used. So A would be baseline, B, they placed the recycling bin out the door, A was the return to baseline, and then the BC, they replaced the recycling bin outside the door as well with signs. And then the A is another return to baseline. On another floor, an A, B, C design was used. And so, again, you have the A as baseline, and then the B and C, you have the two interventions combined from placing the recycling bin outside the door with the sign. And then another return to baseline is A, and then the BC as well. Both floors saw an increase in the amount of recycling. And then O'Connor et al. In 2010 also evaluated the effects of recycling at a university. However, this was done across 3 different buildings on the university campus. Unlike other studies, this one focused on evaluating the effects of recycling without posting signs on campus. A concurrent multiple baseline design was used, and during the baseline phase, the bins were not moved, except to ensure procedural integrity. In the intervention phases, recycling bins were exchanged for a brighter color bin with labels stating what the bin was for. However, no signs were still posted. In comparison to the previously mentioned studies, O'Connor found that just having bins around campus did not increase the amount of recycling. And then finally, a study conducted by Pegels in 2022 assessed the barriers to recycling in households. This included separation of recyclable items in trash and self-monitoring required to recycle. A randomized control trial was used, and originally these researchers went around to people's houses and kind of use those self-reporting measures. The study also developed signs posted around indicating which days dry waste or recyclable items would be picked up. While this study was not conducted at a university, I did find it relevant as this study was conducted in people's homes, and the replication study was also conducted in my home. And then finally, the purpose of the project was to evaluate the effects of increasing recycling and correctly recycling items when signage is posted, and to gain experience in writing papers for this class. So next we have the methods, and the participants were myself, and again the setting occurred in my home. An AB reversal design was used, and the materials required a recycling bin, a trash can, a camera to take photos for IOA, 2 signs, one that says trash and another that says recycle, a bag to put the recycled items, and a laptop with access to the internet with Excel and Microsoft Word to input data. So for this study, the behavior of target was correct recycling, and this is defined as the number of plastic bottles, aluminum cans, paper, cardboard, glass items collected from recycling bins. Examples included like a piece of paper or a pop bottle, and non-examples included food items placed into recycling bins. In the baseline and intervention phases, Baseline, a trash can was located in the kitchen and a sign was placed above the trash can asking myself to recycle. And it also stated where the recycling bin could be located, which was in the garage. Um, in the return to baseline phases, the trash can was moved from the garage back into the kitchen. In intervention, it did not start until a stable trend was established in baseline, and the trash can was removed from the kitchen and placed into the garage next to the recycling bin. There were also no signs posted, there also were signs posted to remind me to recycle. IOA was 65%. IOA was 100% across all phases and the IOA data occurred for 20% of the observation period, and it occurred on randomized days throughout the study. For procedural integrity, the average was 65% and had a range of 25 to 67%. When recording the procedural integrity, the number of trash cans and recycling bins in their correct location were divided by the total number of trash cans and recycling bins in the garage and then multiplied by 100 and converted into a percentage. In this case, if the recycling bin was in the incorrect location, it was then moved to the correct location, and there was a form that I would mark stating where the items were. So in like the first column, there would be, is the trash can in the correct location? Yes or no. Is the recycling bin in the correct location? Yes or no. And if the answers were no, it was marked that they were moved to the correct place. And then it also asked if the signs were stated where the bins were located, and you would mark yes or no. So here's a picture of the graph. So you can see in phase one, baseline, a stable trend is established. The asterisks above indicate whether IOA was taken that day. And then in intervention, this one is also a stable trend. And in the withdrawal, you can see that it goes back down to very low levels. And once the intervention was implemented again, it did increase. For this specific graph, the last intervention phase, I would have liked to have seen a more stable trend before ending the replication. However, due to the class and the due dates, I was not able to establish a more stable trend. The results of this replication were similar to that conducted by Fritz in 2017, and the percentage of correctly recycled items did increase. Some of the similarities of the study include using the same materials, posting signs, using trash bins and recycling bins. So in the first baseline phase, I had an average of 15% of materials being recycled correctly. And in the first intervention phase, it goes up to 52%, which is nearly 3 times the amount of that in baseline. Withdrawal, it drops down back to 10%, which is even lower than the initial baseline condition. And then in the final intervention stage, the average was 57%. It should be emphasized that this replication study only took place and accounted for one individual's behavior. So both baseline phases have low levels, and in the intervention, high levels are observed. There's no variability seen in baseline phases, very little in the first intervention phase. And then again, a stable trend was not established in the final intervention due to the time constraints of the project. So here is the table of correctly recycled items. And the range for baseline data in the first baseline data is 10 to 20%, and the average is 10% again. For the first intervention phase, the range is 40 to 60%, and the average is 50%. In the withdrawal phase, the range is 10 to 20%, and the average is 12. And in the final intervention stage, the range is 53% to 70%, and the average is 57% as well. So next is going to be some limitations of the project and the conclusion. So the study did find that posting signs designating where recycling bins were located did in fact increase the percentage of correctly recycled materials. While replicating the study, there were several limitations to consider for future research. One is that this study was conducted across one person as opposed to the university settings, like much of the literature in the beginning that was described in the beginning. And this was a person living in a single person home. The consumption of products is expected to be much lower for one person than that of like faculty and staff in an entire university campus with multiple students just coming in and out each day. Another limitation that should be noted is that there is minimal research that was not included for recycling in an individual person home. This is definitely something that can be for future research, perhaps not using self-report methods, because those can often be inaccurate. Some research has been conducted on recycling in home, but again, these were done via poll or self-reporting strategies. And finally, some differences should be noted. Again, in the original study, the collection of recycled items took place in a university over the course of several semesters, whereas this project only took place over one semester, a mini-mester, if you will, since the class was only 8 weeks. And there's only 20 data points, so roughly this one took place over 4 weeks. And suggestions for future research include addressing the amount of actual recycled items in a home or single person home, and addressing the amount of recycled items in businesses. And then for the final slide, we have the references. So the first one is, and these are in APA 7 format. The first one is by Austin, Grindle, and Bailey, 1993, and it described increasing recycling in office environments. And that can be found in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. And Chang, it is a University Halls Plastic Recycling, a Blended Intervention, International Journal of Sustainability in Higher Education. And if I remember correctly, that specific study was conducted in a country in Asia. And then the Environmental Protection Agency, they have lots of good facts for recycling, how to recycle, and resources as well. The original study by Fritz, evaluating increased effort for item disposal to improve recycling at a university, can also be found in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. And then Miller, 2016, the effects of bin proximity and visual prompts on recycling in a university. And then we have O'Connor, which studied the effects of number and location of bins on plastic recycling at a university. And that can also be found in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. And then the last one by Pegels, 2022, aligning recycling behaviors and the recycling system towards a full cycle of materials and behavioral methods in waste management. All studies have been peer-reviewed. Some of the studies did take place in other countries. And then also the studies here in the PowerPoint do have the DOI, so you can find the literature online and look at it for yourself. Thank you all so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a great day.